Welcome to the podcast, Kill Complacency. Here we inspire intentional living by motivating others to handle hard better. And here's your host, Marty Hofmann.
Thank you so much for joining part 2 of our podcast with Sarah Miskelly. I really enjoy talking to her. Her and I could talk all day long about real estate. The thing I want you to cue in to this one is listen to her message to the world, and specifically what her goal in life is with that. It's a big, audacious goal. I know she's going to get it. I know she's going to kill it. And part of the reason is I think she has her priorities straight with focusing on her family and her faith and making those things real. So good content here. You want to learn how to do bigger things in life and reprioritize and realign yourself, then listen to this podcast with Sarah Miskelly and listen and learn about how you can do more with what you have today. So enjoy, and thank you so much. Do you know who Jocko Wellington is? Or Jocko Welling?
I don't.
This is Jocko. So he has a book called Extreme Ownership. You would actually maybe like that.
I've heard of that book. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, kind of famous book. But in it, he, to your point, he talks about difficulties, and whenever he would have difficulties, he would say good. And he's got a really deep voice, but it'd be this like, and everybody knew if something was good to Jocko, like it was an opportunity to grow, but it was also something that's going to be difficult. But that mindset shift of what you were just talking about regarding it, like it is good. You know, we get to learn something new. There is a problem. And I guess that's part of real estate. I agree. It's not easy. There's lots of hard things, but with it comes the reward of, the freedom and opportunities. I started buying real estate because I was an entrepreneur, and I said, I don't have a retirement plan. So I'm going to buy assets that will be my retirement plan. So
smart move.
But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And it isn't easy. I mean, you and I could probably write a horror book on things that we've
dealing with tenants and everything and contractors. And I mean, right now too, like there's been a lot of pain in the market the last 2 years, just with the interest rates going up. Like a lot of people have lost a lot of money. I have friends that have lost close to $1 million. And so it's really not to be taken lightly. And markets are cyclical, and I'm sure people are learning a lot of tough lessons right now, that they hopefully won't have happen again. So that's it. Life is full of ups and downs. So is the real estate market.
Mm-hmm. What are you guys doing? Are you the general partner of the fund?
So essentially how we do it these days is there's going to be a fund-to-fund structure. So there's a GP team on the fund, and then we have, you understand that. I don't know if everybody you're listening will understand that. And so we partner on a larger fund, and then we bring in the LP investors, and they're essentially getting access to, this pool of assets that have been put together. Right now, what we're doing on this fund is there's something called pref equity. So, with what's happened in the market, there's a lot of deals right now that, need more capital. The banks are tighter on their lending restrictions. Raising equity is just harder right now as well. So we're able to come in with capital opportunistically and lend it to sponsors that are looking to essentially just put more money into their deals because they have to complete a business plan or into assets that have been taken from an underperforming sponsorship team, and now they've been sold to a high performing team with a good track record, and we can kind of fill that funding gap. So you're seeing things like this come around, and the benefit to an investor in that is they're right behind the bank. So if the property is going to get sold or anything happens, they're going to get their money back to them much sooner, and usually the loan to value is about 75%. And if 20 or 30% of the value drops, you still have the opportunity to, your money's safe, right? So there's just a lot more risk mitigation happening now in the market. And look, investing is risky, but after the last couple of years, I find my investors in particular are looking for just, steady base hits. They just want to like stay safe and ride this out the next few years.
And I think that's all you have to do is get the base hits. We like the Grand Slam, but Grand Slams come with more risk. So singles and doubles win ball games. So just take what you can get. But I was going to ask, my question was, how are you guys with the market being a little harder right now? What are you guys doing to still fund deals and still do things? Is it just more creativity, or is it just the way you're structuring your fund?
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, like I'm in my hands in a few different things. So like in my personal assets, there's been some restructuring. Like I sold an underperforming assets. I had a condo in Toronto, and with rents kind of, not accelerating as much as we had expected pre-COVID, in addition to the higher interest rates and then the cost of ownership, there was just a stagnation that I didn't foresee changes like, happening for the foreseeable future. And that market in and of itself, anybody who's from a major city can likely attest, especially when there's rent control. Your expenses keep going up, and that's what tenants sometimes don't understand. But your profitability goes down. And, I just saw in that instance that this just wasn't an asset I wanted to hold on to. So sold that, moved some of that capital to pay down a mortgage because I had that interest rate going up. So just like moving things around a little bit, and then just sometimes changing the structure of your rentals. So sometimes you can change like a long-term to mid-term or whatever that looks like. And then in terms of, the larger deals, it's creating new funding structures is very important. A lot of assumable loans too. So, some of the hot deals that people are looking for is they don't want to pay the newer interest rates. So they're looking for deals where they can kind of get that old, 3% interest rate and carry it forward. That's happening a lot. And then as well, in times like this, you have to focus on how can you just improve the NOI and like cut costs. And that takes creativity. And I think that's what's good about these times is people have to really like look at their bottom line and say, how can I squeeze the juice out of this a little bit more? And, when everybody's throwing money around, that doesn't happen. So, this is a time to learn and grow. But I think it just really becomes the actions, and you'd understand this from a sales perspective, because you mentioned your son, you just have to do double the work to get the same result. And you have to understand that that's the instance of what we're in and accept it. That's the way it's going to be for a little while. But the skills you develop in a down market are going to carry you forward tenfold once the market picks up. So it's having that long-term perspective. I think that's really important as well in this market. And then I think just in life too, we can get stuck in
for sure.
Stuck in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah. Gary Keller has a book called Shift. Have you read that one?
Yeah, I have.
But, and it's all about that. It's all about adjusting because the markets do go up and down, and you try to adjust before they go down so that you can ride it. And I think in that book he talked about, he'd been through a few different cycle changes and he knew how to prepare for them, and he knew how to spot them and see them. So you're right. We got to be more creative. And a book I recently read was Who Moved My Cheese? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I haven't read it though.
It's a teeny weeny book. You could honestly, if you have like Audible, you could listen to it with your kids. It's about little mice. But it's about change and seeing the change and not getting stuck in T Station C. And I think that's where we are in real estate right now. But I would also argue people in life can be that way. They don't have that hard conversation. And so they just continue to drift through life and never buy an asset like real estate. So, anyway, Sarah, what would you say is one thing that you did that you wish you could tell your 20-year-old self now?
Oh boy. Good or bad?
Ah, well, I don't know.
So yeah, I would
What
tell
is
my
what
20-year-old
is one
self.
one yeah, what is one piece of advice you'd give your 20-year-old self?
So when I was younger, I was very aggressive, like in terms I wanted everything now. And that made me like make decisions too quick sometimes without like doing my
Mm,
full due diligence. So I can give an exact example. So when I was learning how to passive invest when I was around 20, I put money into a deal where, one of the business partners on the deal had basically a shady background, and all our capital got locked up in a lot of litigation, and then legal costs are,
mm,
very expensive that ate into our returns. So, that's something that has obviously impacted my deal selection for the partners I'm bringing into deals now, because I am very risk adverse, and I think there was just this feeling and sense when I was younger that I have to do everything quickly and like right now. And
mm,
that may have been related to the fact that I lost my dad young, if you want to get really into it, and just a concern about death and how much time do I have here, and we could get really deep about that. But I've done a lot of personal development work at this point
yeah,
to get through that. But that was just something I would have slowed down a little bit. But at the same time, look, like it wouldn't have had me where I am today. And so I really don't look at
sure.
anything like a regret. Or, I also say, oh, I wish I discovered surfing 10 years ago, but then I might have been a surf bum and not be educating people on real estate. So you really just don't know, right?
Yeah.
But that would probably be my one thing, is just, like give yourself the time to like do your proper due diligence when you're looking into investment opportunities.
Hmm. That's good. That's really good. I can be the same way, a bit aggressive and uh, jump in head first and then figure it out. So I understand. Um, I could probably still use some of that advice. um, Tell us about um, Costa Rica. Like, we see that in your post. You grew up in the north. You had this dream to live in the south. How did you guys come to that decision?
Yeah, so I'd say it was a business opportunity for my husband. And, it's maybe not going to be forever, but for right now, it's really great for my son. He's in school here. And the reality is, for us personally, we just weren't really feeling aligned with, the education system in Toronto at that time. And we just, had this opportunity come up, and, we were able to come down here. And really, I think that ability to be closer to nature and just have a different culture, less TV, like let's just be straight, like we're not, the kids aren't using tech. I have two kids.
Yeah.
They're never not on tech. Like I'm not saying I'm some perfect parent. And my kid loves Paw Patrol here and there and truck shows on YouTube. But it's just for me, just that ability to maybe like have them have a bit more of a foundation in like
Hmm.
reality, and
Hmm.
be a bit more in touch with the natural world is, I don't know. My kids can end up on Wall Street, like who knows, right? But this feels good for right now, just for their brain development.
No, I think that's really good, and I think I think people could take a chapter out of your book on that, because we do need to be doing real life, and that's when that small brain develops so much, is digging for worms and looking at butterflies and feeling the sand between your toes. That's real life. And yeah, they could watch it on YouTube or play a video game, but it's not the same. And what that does to their brain, I Sarah, I've raised my kids the same, and I think there's going to be real opportunity for our kids in the future, because I think there's going to, I think, for instance, mine and your kids will be much better at problem solving because they've done real life than
Hmm.
um, kids that have done a lot of life with a screen in front of them. So,
Yeah, no, I
so
I would agree.
kudos to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just to speak to that, so we have magnetic blocks, those little magnetic building blocks. So every
Hmm.
night my son's just building these wild creations, and I watch his brain creating new things. And it's incredible. I'm like, look at this
Hmm.
little engineer. And look, like his life is good in Canada. I'm not like saying it's not, but I truly feel like when the choice is there that he knows he can do that versus watch a show, he now has this enjoyment and pleasure in these activities where he's using his mind that
Mm-hmm.
he will likely, I hope, prefer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wait till you get into Legos. Maybe you already have Legos.
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
I heard a story about Donald Trump that he played with blocks and he knew he wanted to be a builder because he took all of his brother's blocks and glued them all together with his. But it was how, like, his first memory of realizing that that's what he wanted to do. So, kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
Well, that's so good. Sarah, if you were to say you've had one really influential book in your life, what would you say is the most influential book?
Oh, I feel like every real estate investor says this, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and then his other book, Cash Flow Quadrant. I read those books, not Cash Flow Quadrant. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was like 8 or 10. My dad made me read it. So
Wow.
that was really like, like you said, a lot of real estate investing is a mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I'm so grateful for my dad because it was like I was raised in this idea of, you know, how do you make your money work for you and how do you,
Mm-hmm.
get into more of an entrepreneurial like business owner versus like relying on income. Just so many ideas in that book. So that's my number one mindset shift / real estate investing book.
I re-listened to that like 3 weeks ago and it's still really good. Yeah. There's different, I don't know if you've done it recently. There's different things as you mature that you're like, oh man, that's really good still. Like, but yeah, that's a classic book. Will you have your kids read that one?
Oh, for sure. I'm already planning a bunch of these things. My kids are going to go to the Landmark Forum. They're going to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I want to get them into sports because I wasn't as a kid, and I feel like that's a huge character building thing to do. So not to put too much pressure on them, but
That's so good. Another one they could do, well, pretty soon probably would be Richest Man in Babylon. Have you heard of that one?
okay, yeah, I've read that book a few times.
The audio is really, really good. It's just like your
Okay,
kids will just listen. Yeah. Yeah.
good
You
to
could
know.
totally be indoctrinating them right now.
Okay, great.
um, Sarah, if you had one message to share to the world, what would be your message?
So I think that the biggest thing that, both of us are very inclined towards, it's like that ability to, create freedom for yourself. I think people have a misperception that when that happens, they're just gonna like do nothing or, retirement just means sitting around. I think when you can kind of solve for all your financial needs, you then realize that there's things that you really care about that you
Mm-hmm.
can then take initiative on. And I think just for people to be able to just cover their expenses and just focus on that instead of,
Mm-hmm.
becoming a multimillionaire. If you can just cover expenses, you then have
Mm-hmm.
that room and that, freedom and that ability to just like take a breath and be like, okay, well, what
Yeah.
really matters to me? So for me, my driving force is I want to donate $1 million to God Behind Bars. And that is a charity that brings essentially, the gospel into prisons. That's a passion for mine. People in prison are hopeless and they made mistakes and they got caught. And a lot of us make mistakes and don't get caught. So, just that charity, I don't know why it has a place in my heart. And I didn't think about that level of, charitable contribution when I was just thinking about how much money can I make? How can I 10x my income every year in a career? So, that is going to take something, but I feel like it's going to make a difference for more people.
Mm.
Now that I have that freedom covered, right?
Mm-hmm. I saw that on your LinkedIn, God Behind Bars. And then Philippians, is it 4:8-9? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to, I don't know. That was one thing that's really been important to me like is my faith, and just seeing how I can, I don't know, give back. I don't want to get on a soapbox, but it's just made a difference for me. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Robert Kiyosaki talks so much about that. Serving, the more people you serve, the more opportunities you have. And so that's a big heart you have there. That's really cool. So, well, thank you so much, Sarah, for being on today. It's a pleasure to meet you and not just look at your LinkedIn stuff. So
yeah, it's so nice to talk to you.
how do if people want to follow you, is it just LinkedIn? How else do they follow you?
LinkedIn is the easiest and the best. I post there almost every day. Well, not the weekends actually. And then I also have a podcast called Endless Wealth. You can find that on Apple Podcasts. And once again, it's about investing and, lifestyle freedom. So I'd say those are the best places to find me.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hey, just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there, spread the message, share. And if you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store in show notes as well. But it's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com, mindsetshop.com. Check it out. Thank you guys so much, and have a great one.
Thank you for listening to Kill Complacency. Follow and share our podcast to change lives and inspire growth.